All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a piece of fabric. You're gonna take your heart or your circle and you're gonna place it in the middle of that. And then we're gonna trace an outline of it, and the outline does not have to be super thick or super, actually thin is better. What you want it to do is it'll kind of disappear as we're working on it, okay? So then this is called an embroidery hoop, and the way that embroidery hoops work is this center part pops out. It goes on the back side. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna pop this part that has the spring here, and we're gonna put it on the middle. And it should just kind of fit over and make it nice and tight. And it's almost kind of like a little bit of a drum, and it'll hold it still for you. Some people use the hoops, some people don't use the hoops. This spring here tightens it and loosens it in order to make it, depending on how thick your fabric is, you may need to adjust it, okay? Then we're gonna take a needle, and I don't know how many of you have done this, but we have nice big fat eye. This is called the eye of the needle. Nice big fat eye needles to use. Then the other thing that we have, this is, we use crochet thread in here. There's also embroidery thread that you can buy at like Joann's and stuff like that. That's a little like shinier and nicer, but this stuff works really well for what we're using. We're gonna take it, we're gonna thread the needle, and everybody has a problem with this. It's really hard. I'm gonna tell you, the gross part about this is you're gonna take this, and if you put it in your mouth and kind of get it a little bit wet, it'll make sure that it's, or you can also like put some spit on your finger and do it that way, but it'll make sure it'll stay nice and stiff and straight. You're gonna stick it through the needle. This is the part that everybody's gonna have a problem with. Now the next thing that we're gonna do is, after we thread the needle, is we're gonna use the thread like this. This is called the tail, right here, and it's gonna be a shorter part. This is the working thread. And at the end of the working thread, you're gonna tie a knot. And the way that we tie a knot in here is we're just gonna take a circle, wrap it around our finger and get a circle. And then I'm gonna take the tail of that knot and I'm gonna send it through once, and then I'm gonna send it through twice. And when I do that, if I kind of very carefully pull it down the string, then there's gonna be a knot. Now, how many strings are in this knot right now? One. There is only one string in this knot. When you are doing this embroidery, we want only one string on the top of the fabric, okay? Where does a knot go? Does it go on the top side of the fabric or the bottom side of the fabric? The bottom, right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my threaded needle. This tail that we had, we talked about the tail and the working thread. The tail can be almost like halfway through, right? And we'll just move it. Once we start running out of thread, we'll just move the needle down the thread. But then I'm gonna take and I'm gonna start at the bottom here, and I'm gonna pull this through. And I'm gonna make sure everything lays flat. So this is the extent of where I think we're gonna end up today. If we get further than that, great. But the knot goes on the back side, and the tail or the thread's right here. Okay. The next thing we're gonna do is called a back stitch, all right? And a back stitch is you'll go all your stitches will be even, and they will be regular. So when I do this, I want to take a stitch that's just about this size right here, okay? And the reason it's called a back stitch, this is like one of the best stitches for like sewing something that's fallen apart, because it's nice and strong. So after I do that first initial stitch, I'm gonna go forward the size of a stitch, and then, because it's called a back stitch, I'm gonna go back and go back inside the same hole I came out of. So what I have right now are two cute, whoopsie, I'm getting caught around that, which happens a lot. I'm gonna have two cute little stitches right next to each other that are exactly the same. Okay? That's a back stitch. We're gonna do that first heart all in a back stitch. The back of your fabric should look almost as good as the front of your fabric. Okay, so that's one of the things you want to pay attention to.
Yes.
Just gonna pull it all the way through, very gently.
Yep.
And then I'm gonna push it there. Now, if you'll notice that when I'm pulling on something, I'm holding the thread at the eye of the needle, just like that, so that it doesn't come the needle doesn't become unthreaded, okay? So that's the extent of it. That's your first part.